Before I discovered this passion for teaching strategy at edX and training managers in corporation, I was a tech engineer. I studied hardware engineering and worked on designing semiconductors, also called chips. Um, when I joined my first chip design projects 25 years ago, I had no idea that one day these tiny components will become so critical to our modern economies. And even less that one of them, called GPU, will fuel the fourth industrial revolution. Over the past 2 to 3 decades, the world has tremendously changed. And technology has been and is recognized as the primary force that transforms industries and creates new ones. The past first three industrial revolutions came and changed the way we work, the way we live. The first industrial revolution was the steam power back in the 18th century. The second industrial revolution was electricity back in the 19th century. And the third industrial revolution, the combination of digital technologies, personal computers, and internet, formed the third industrial revolution. Over the past century, each came and transformed our lives, driving progress, but also bringing challenges and fears. When talking about fears, think back to the early days of electricity. Many people didn't want it first to have in their homes. They called it the invisible killer in homes and feared electrocution. There was even a real anxiety about electricity would disturb the natural rhythm of daily life and feared the potential for work after dark. The early days of trains and railways, there were many accidents at first. This fueled the fear about this technology. There was even a common belief that moving at speeds higher than 30 miles per hour would damage brain and cause mental health issues. But over time, technology improved, became more reliable, safer. We started to integrate them into our everyday lives. Fears faded away. We adapted. We always do. If we are to compare AI to the previous industrial revolutions, as Andrew Ng, a leading figure in AI, stated, AI is the new electricity. Just as electricity, AI also is invisible, pervasive, and essential. While electricity has been and is the invisible force behind industries powering homes, factories, transportations, AI will soon be embedded in all of our digital systems, powering automation, decision-making, and personalization. Both electricity and AI impact productivity and performance. It's quite obvious for electricity. What AI will do in this area is to augment knowledge workers and take over repetitive tasks so we can take over more creative and strategic tasks. And both electricity and AI have been source of innovation and transformation. For instance, AI driving today's industries such as intelligent autonomous systems or personalized education. Just a few words about how these generative AI applications function. Generative AI applications are powered by what we call large language models, trained on massive amount of publicly available data. This is why applications such as ChatGPT are called general purpose. This means that they can talk about a variety of topics, sometimes accurately, but they are not considered as specialists, highly skilled in one area. We can also build what we call narrow purpose or specialized GenAI applications for some specific fields, for instance, higher education. This time, the underlying large language models are trained on specific data sets related to the area of expertise. This is the reason why these narrow purpose applications are more accurate and more reliable in general. But general purpose or not, these applications function the same way. They do not understand language like we do. What they do during their training, they are learning patterns and structures of languages. This is an example I give to my students, and they are sometimes surprised. Generative AI applications don't know what a hamburger is. What they learned during their training were about meeting these terms and learning about the patterns and the structures about hamburgers. When we ask questions to GenAI applications, also called a prompt, AI starts generating an answer, word by word. Each next word is predicted as a function of the prompt, the question we asked, and the pattern it learned during their training. So we have to recognize, by the way, that applications such as ChatGPT are very powerful and impressive, but they are not completely reliable. Studies show that accuracy with ChatGPT can go from 7% to 86%, depending on the field and on how well the user has been able to guide the tool. Obviously, these tools also have weaknesses. The first weakness is about human biases that we can find in the data used to train these applications. We also have, naturally, misinformation also embedded in the data, and what we call AI hallucinations. And if you never heard about AI hallucination, here is an example. You ask GenAI who invented oxygen, who discovered oxygen, and the GenAI application would come up and confidently respond, Albert Einstein, back in 1921. So if you never heard about Einstein, oxygen, and so you might definitely take this answer as an established truth, why it is totally wrong. So let's look at how is it that we started to use generative AI in the higher education. So the whole community started to use generative AI since the beginning, the first days of GenAI, obviously. Researchers and faculty started to use it to generate content, to structure content, to do writing with it, to code, actually, for researchers, but also to create assignments and to prompt discussions about the capabilities and the limits of these tools. On student side, well, they have been very happy to have access to such tools. The misuse of generative AI has posed two challenges to higher education institutions. First, academic integrity, difficulties to protect academic integrity. And second, difficulties to protect authentic learning. So some higher educations reported higher rates of academic dishonesty. And this is very probably because different institutions have different approaches to, for instance, placing emphasis on academic integrity, or they have different assessment systems. So there is room to see over the coming terms to see many institutions building more AI-resistant assessment systems over time. And as I was looking closely to what is happening in terms of research, research has been unbelievably fast in the area. And we have a lot of frameworks and insights into how to best use this technology to augment ourselves and not replace ourselves. Generally speaking, there is a concern when we offload or we delegate the cognitive effort of learning or creating to these generative AI applications. In some cases, we can call this cheating. But in fact, the consequences go beyond the only fact of breaking some rules. Research shows that when students use generative AI as a shortcut, clearly asking questions to GenAI and taking the answer and copy-pasting it to complete an assignment, for instance, well, this is definitely where students miss an opportunity to develop skills such as critical thinking and problem solving. But students most of the time have a better approach, a more effective. They will be throwing a complex problem to generative AI applications or asking complex questions, and then they take the output of the tool and start analyzing it, breaking it into pieces and try to understand the output, which is a better approach. But then we are definitely observing a shift in emphasis from writing a solution from scratch to critically analyzing the output generated by generative AI. So there are two short takeaways and conclusions in there. The first is that if students start using GenAI as a shortcut and definitely delegate the cognitive effort of learning, this is about definitely becoming underprepared to move to and to integrate workforce and companies that are looking for sharp, independent thinkers. And the other problem that it is posing is the personal ethics. And integrity matters. And using it as a shortcut to do assignments is definitely about going for convenience instead of integrity. And we know that personal ethics is not just an academic value, it's a societal one. And when it erodes, trust erodes with it. A very interesting study handled by Boston Consulting Group. They found there are two key factors to successfully pairing generative AI and humans. These two factors are the level of expertise of the generative AI tools, and the second is the expertise of the humans who used these tools. And among the four situations you can see on that slide, three are absolutely key takeaways. The first is when, and the only situation they noticed, where combining the humans and generative AI is producing powerful results is when we combine skillful humans and generative AI that has high level of expertise. This is the only case where augmented humans outperformed the humans working alone and the AI working solo. Another situation that was interesting to understand is when the generative AI has moderate capabilities, but the humans who use it have high level of expertise. In this case, the tendency for the humans to over-rely on generative AI made these humans perform worse than if they had not used generative AI. So we have definitely to consider the risk of over-reliance on generative AI. And the third situation that is definitely related to the case of students is when both the humans and the generative AI had moderate capabilities. And in this case, developing skills was possible, but at one condition, that the whole process be supervised by expert humans. Most of the students today are using general purpose GenAI applications. And without meaningful training, academic guidance, and supervision. While these GenAI tools are very powerful, they have not been initially designed to teach students the way educators and institutions want. So one trend today is to see some institutions coming up with specialized, narrow-purpose generative AI applications they integrate into their learning platforms, and they offer this to students. So this is the situation where, for instance, these institutions can train the underlying AI models with specific academic data sets, so we have higher accuracy, and here is where institutions can offer a more conceptualized and more authentic learning to students. We have two goals clearly in there. First is to minimize the impact of misinformation, human biases, and AI hallucinations. And the second is to guide the tool in a way that it will not report an answer right away, and will help students step by step through the solutions so they have a better and more authentic learning. All in all, one thing is for sure: caring for the future is not optional. And it's not just the job of educators and institutions, it's a shared responsibility, a duty of humanity to develop the future leaders we are shaping. Thank you.